if you were to put a lineup together to play music going forward, what guys would you choose musically? And like, not based on the heavy or the metal, musically. Bass, guitar, drums, and keyboard if you choose. I mean, I'm not a big keyboard guy personally, but...
Well, keyboards would probably be someone like, I don't know, like Derek Sherinian or Alex Argento or something like that, you know.
Okay.
Well, that Matt Gilroy from James Debris, like, you know, I mean, him and Marco, like, work really well together. I just think, fuck, you know, I'd love to find some... Because Marco says that Matt's more of a guitar player at heart, you know, than a keyboard player. It just so happens it comes out on a keyboard. You know, I mean, if you listen to the new, or the latest James Debris album, you know, I said to Marco in Damn, I was like, mate, you got another guitar player? He said, no, that's Matt doing all the keyboards, because some of it just sounds like a guitar with a wah pedal, you know. Probably
because it is. It's their guitar samples, man.
Yeah.
You know.
No, but I mean, his soloing, you know, the solos and stuff.
Now, this question is based on a non-genre. The lineup would be an open-ended, non-genre specific. So picture yourself playing in a unit where you could play a 3-hour set in a night with no genre limitations, really.
What covers loads of different stuff, or
whatever, man. A non-genre limitation, meaning that if it was an original band, you guys would play anything from like, fucking psychedelic rock to fusion to metal. What would that lineup be?
Fuck knows. Seriously, I've no idea. Like, I've often wondered what it'd be like to play with, playing a band with Billy Sheehan. Like, because he seems to understand guitar players really well, you know. Having worked with so many. Rhythm guitar, fucking hell. Probably Adam D from Killswitch. I don't him on rhythm.
He's a great guitar player, man.
Without the cape. No, you can get a cape. Fuck it, it'd be a laugh. I'll be up there.
Okay.
Drummer. I don't know. I'd have to probably say Lee, to be honest, for my band. Like,
no, but
I've seen so many drummers, and like, you know, I mean, just as a guy and as a player, I don't know.
And he's a well-rounded player, suited to playing all kinds of stuff.
He's fucking. I mean, you watch him in all the cover bands he does, and you know, he plays in Fields of the Nephilim as well, and then our stuff, and then he plays on my stuff. You know, there's just nothing he can't do really. And I don't mean technically. You know, he's not Mr. Drum Solo. Like, fucking look at how many different time signatures I can play. But it's, you know, he can play enough technique to put himself up there with, you know, with so many different drummers. And but the thing is, for me, he's just such an unassuming kind of guy. You know, he plays what's needed. And fucking hell, like, to find a drummer that can do that is really hard. You know, I mean, for me personally, I've played with a few. And, you know, they're all they sit at the back of the band, but they'd rather be at the front.
Yeah, for sure.
Fuck no, you know, I can't be doing with it.
And is he a musical guy? Does he just play drums, or does he play other instruments?
No, he plays guitar. You know, his fiancee Kirsty, she's a singer. She sings and plays piano and stuff, and does like songwriting, and he plays acoustic for her. He does sing a little bit, I think, although I haven't seen him sing. I don't think he would if I was there. I don't know. Okay. Maybe you think I'd take the piss. You know. And that's it really.
Okay, now here's
but you know, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Like, you know, just because somebody's done loads of great things as a musician, I don't suppose, you know, for one moment that just because Billy Sheehan's played on all these albums and everything, and I mean, I did meet him at Frankfurt, and he does happen to be an awesome bloke, but you know, who's to say that if we sat down in a room together and tried to play some songs, that I wouldn't end up trying to beat him up, or he'd try and fucking kick me in the head with them massive shoes he wears. You know what I mean? It's like, do you know what I mean? It's not, because someone's great, it doesn't mean that your relationship will work.
No, for sure.
I don't know. It's
kind of like a fantasy band kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what the question is based on. Okay, here's another cheeseball question for you.
Let's just replace Lee with Mike Portnoy then, because I'd like to, you know, if I ever got the chance to play with him, that'd be good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because you know, I don't know really. I just like the fact that he's. It's a shame he's not in Dream Theater anymore because the rock star element of that band has just kind of left. You know, they're a great band to watch now. You know, with the reinvigorated sort of. You know, the life that Mike's brought to the band. I mean, he's a fantastic drummer. He's fucking amazing. But I don't know, you know, like, you know, Mike is just a little bit sort of, you know, the standing up, the stick pointing, the fucking spitting and all that, you know. That's all stuff that, I don't know, that I think is lost in technical music. You know, the thing that kind of slightly bugs me about guitar players now is that in order... I mean, I'm only saying this from my own experience because, you know, people see what I do for Lick Library and stuff like that, and they must think that I don't know, I've got no life and no personality. I don't know, because like when I meet people, they're like, "Fucking hell, I never thought you'd be such a child," or like, you know, such an idiot. You know, I don't know, but I don't think being studious and a serious person necessarily goes hand in hand with being focused at what you do, and
it's quite the opposite, man.
Yeah,
I was with them last week. Well, 2 weeks ago. I went to New York to cover the Adrenaline Mob thing.
Oh right, yeah.
And that's totally him, man. Still with the standing up behind the kit, the stick pointing. No matter what he does, that's what he is, man. You know, and he is as intense and as full of piss and vinegar as ever, man. Like, did you listen to any of that stuff?
I heard like some of the EP and stuff, but
no. But I'll send you the record.
Okay. What's the guitar playing like? Because what I heard of him, I wasn't keen. I thought, you know, of all the guitar players he could have chosen, he could have gone with someone a bit better.
This is the thing, though. He didn't choose anything, man. It's not his project. It's it's Orlando's project. Orlando and Russell wrote all those songs.
Right.
And
can't kick out the fucking organ grinder then, can you?
Not really, you know. I mean, it's funny because a lot of guys latched on. I mean, Portnoy came into the fold, and then like the Disturbed bass player is now playing with them. You know.
Well, he's not in Disturbed anymore, or?
It was a good. I don't know what's happening with Disturbed, to be honest with you. I didn't talk to him at all. You know, I interviewed Mike and I chatted a bit with Portnoy and Russell but in any case, it's a good record. You know, it's a fluff rock record kind of thing. You know, I mean, but Orlando's playing on it is interesting. You know, he's got a very interesting style, man. It's not like any other player that I've heard. You know, and I listened to his Sonic Stomp stuff, and it was like kind of good, you know, but yeah, whatever, you know, nothing that made me go, wow, like, listen to this guy, you know, like, to be honest with you, very few guys, like, short of you, very few guys in the last couple of years have made me pay more attention than, oh, okay, you know, honestly, because there isn't...
It always have to be about that, though, you know, I guess you can kind of go down, you can kind of ridicule someone too much for not. I don't know, but, you know, you like me, I mean, you know, being a fucking guitar player is like being a magician, you know. You kind of, you see a lot of things which a lot of people look at and go, how the fuck does he do that, you know? What's he doing, what, you know, and they don't understand. When you understand, you've got a firm grip of what's going on.
But the thing is,
to see something that you've never seen to think, what the fuck is that? I've never seen that, and all, you know, and everything I've ever seen, you know.
But this is the thing, though. I mean, and even for everybody else, like, there's so much regurgitation, dude. You know, like, and I don't think it's still not impossible for modern players, especially being immersed in the internet and the availability of knowledge. You know what I mean? Now, for guys to take bits and pieces of this vast palette and turn it into something that is new. You know what I mean? Which is why it's so hard to be impressed these days, because it is almost pure regurgitation, you know?
The kind of thing is as well, is like, I think it's really hard, because once you start getting a little bit of a name for yourself, you start, you know, getting a bit of responsibility over, you're more responsible for how you deal with people. You know, because I mean, I'm pretty much. I mean, well, you know me anyway. I'm not really someone who bullshits. You know what I mean? I'll say what I think. You know, and I don't know. Lately, I've had a lot of emails via Facebook and all the rest of it saying, "Oh, you know, check out my band, check out my playing." And I don't know. It's funny because I would never have dreamt of doing anything like that. You know, I mean, if I thought it was naff, I wouldn't send it to then get critique back saying it was naff and then getting offended. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't ever put anything out that I wouldn't have thought, well, yeah, okay, it's going to be open to criticism, but I'm happy with it, so that's cool, you know.
Yeah, because you're not. I don't think you're the type of person that requires the validation. You like it when you get it, obviously,
yeah.
as any player would, but it's not.
Oh yeah, of course you do. Yeah.
It's not required for you. But so many of the new generation, man, and I mean, you fall before that because of your age, but so much of the new generation is so reliant on the click, man. The refresh that page. Oh, did they comment?
What do they want me to say? Do they want me to go, yes, fucking amazing? Or do they want my honest answer? Because 99% of the time, my honest answer is really not going to make them happy. Like,
no, you're in a bad spot, obviously, because you know you're at a point where your career is budding now, and if you say the wrong thing, it could have adverse effects for you socially, obviously. You know.
Yeah. What I do is I kind of don't really answer. You know, because then that way I don't have to lie, and then I can just kind of go, well, yeah, I get a lot of emails, so I'm sorry, you know, I didn't get around to replying to you, you know. I can't, you know, I mean, I would never say that. I mean, I always try and be constructive for people, but, you know, when people ask me my opinion, I don't think it serves anybody in the long run if you tell them what they want to hear, because then they're just going to think that they're going to continue down that path of thinking that what they're doing is right and people like it. You know, I mean, obviously your mum and dad are going to go, oh, that's nice, you know, well done. But, you know, what does mum and dad know if they're not part of the industry or they play? You know, they don't know shit. They're in, you know, they love their children and they're going to support them, whatever.
Unfortunately, 99% of those guys are going to want the, yeah, it's great answer. And the 1% would actually take the real criticism and work with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To try and work with it to their advantage. But your policy of not answering is the best policy. And you'll notice, for the most part, all of these stars or up-and-comers that have these Facebook pages are in social media. That's what they do. You can see they never answer anything.
You know? Sometimes if there's a conversation going on Facebook, you know, I get involved and, you know, just have a laugh, you know, because why not, you know. But when it starts getting down to serious sort of like, right, what do you think of my playing and my music? You know, I mean, it's quite clear that if I think anything of someone's playing, I usually post it on my Facebook page. Do you know what I mean? If I think it needs to be seen, or you know, if I actually think, fuck, you know, they put a lot of work into that, and you know, especially if I don't know if it's a cover of mine or it's a friend of mine or just, you know, guitar player or something.
My next question was going to be the cheese ball question. You have a choice of one guitar record to keep. One.
What would it be? Well, if I had to get marooned on a desert island and there was a solo album that I had to keep.
No, we're not going to get as cheesy as marooned on a desert island because, I mean, in this day and age...
So I couldn't plug it in anyway.
In this day and age, like, there's cellular tracking on... GPS tracking on cellular phones, so, I mean, you wouldn't be marooned for very long, you know, so... There's a disintegration of everything media, and you get to keep one record, guitar record. I just want to see if I'd be right in guessing which record it would be.
Oh, okay. Probably Paul's album, if I'm honest.
Wow.
Warning.
Really?
Yeah, it'd be that, yeah.
Holy shit, catch me by surprise, man. Brings me back to...
The only solo album I can get through start to finish without turning it off because I'm bored.
Wow.
You know, it's just got everything. I mean, I don't know whether that's because of where I'm at now, of what I like and stuff, but it's, you know, the kind of mix of, you know, the sound of it, the riffs, the soloing, the melodies, the playing, everything, you know, it's just when I heard that, I was like, right, somebody else is fucking wanting to hear what I want to hear, you know.
Well, it's funny because...
what did you think I was going to say?
I didn't think you were going to say Paul. I'll tell you why I didn't think you were going to say Paul, because you remember our conversation in the car? Yeah, come on, man.
Well, if you tell me, then
I had a mixed CD that we were playing over and over. It had two of your tracks, some Stefan, some Paul Wardigan, some Gilbert. You remember that? We were cruising around, and it's the only disc I had because they didn't have a freaking.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And the Wardigan tune came on, and we listened to a couple of seconds of it, and somebody in the car asked me, "Who is this?" And I said, "It's Andy."
Dan said, yeah.
I said, "It's Andy."
Yeah.
And you were like, "Fucking hell, mate, that's Paul. That's not me." All to say that consciously or subconsciously, you guys have a ton of similar elements, man.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
A ton of similar elements. I wasn't sure in the car if you were offended by that.
No, not at all. Fucking hell. I think Paul's technically better than me. He's a lot slicker. He's just got he's kind of tapping ideas and stuff. I mean, he does a lot of that 4-note per string stuff, which I don't do in my playing, but basically because I can't. I don't really have the dexterity in my left hand to be able to play fluid legato stuff well enough to be able to do that extended tapping that a lot of people do. But, my kind of tapping ideas and stuff don't sound like I'm limited, I suppose, if I can say that. Because I try and find ways of emulating that sound with my already established technique of doing that, do you know what I mean? Which is kind of the way I approach everything. The reason why I play arpeggios the way I do is because I can't play it any other way other than that. And that's the way I've had to find a way of doing something that I like the sound of that somebody else has done, but because I'm not able to do it exactly the same, I've come up with a different way of being able to play a similar sort of thing. And I guess my technique has always been that. It's always been finding other ways of playing stuff that I like but can't do. So rather than bury myself into the floor with just going, I'll give up, I'll never be able to play that, I just think, no, fuck it, I'll just do something else that sounds similar and that I know I can pull off.
Well, you've achieved that, man, because with your bag of tricks, you've managed, through the stuff that you've done to not overdo or underdo anything. You know what I mean? There's a super, super good balance in everything. As a listener, trying to separate myself as a guitar player, I don't, like you said, I don't get bored, or I don't say to myself, okay, well, you know what, that's enough of that, man. You've done that enough now. Like, there's a really good, freeing blend of everything. And I think that it's a shame, man, that I didn't have the power or the finances to get it promoted better for you, because I think it would be huge, man, honestly,
Yeah.
I totally do. In the midst,
it might be one of those things, if the band takes off or I do something that gets some mass attention or whatever, maybe people will check it out. I've got no idea. It's hard to know these days. Like, it's a
tough world, man. Nowadays, it's like, despite some things being so incredibly awesome, dude, because people's attention spans are this, generally, the big success is all driven towards the meat grinder stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The instant, like, the stuff that lasts 10 minutes. And, the stuff that you do and the stuff that the real guys do, it's not 10-minute stuff, man. It's everlasting, timeless music. And the people with short attention spans, like, they don't latch onto it, man, And
well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard, isn't it? I mean, it's funny as well, like, going back to just what you said, like, before, because of the internet and because of the way things are and the nature of downloading and all the rest of it, it really is hard, I think, for me personally, to kind of keep track of who's heard of you and who hasn't. I mean, like, everybody I talk to now, like, if it's people that I haven't spoken to for a while, and I don't know, they kind of go, oh, you seem to be doing all right for yourself. You're getting a real name out there now. It's really kind of happening for you. And I'm thinking, is it? I'm sat in my fucking bedroom, right? And I play guitar and stuff, and I hang out with my mates and go out. And I rarely have anything to do with the music industry, really, unless I'm either down at Lick Library, Jam Track Central, or doing a show, So over and above that, it's really weird, because I just sort of wander around where I live and go about my daily life, and I don't really think about it, you know what I mean? It's funny, because then when you go and do shows, it's like people, you get fucking queues of people wanting to have photos done with you and signature, sign this and sign that. And it's really weird, like, I spoke to someone yesterday and they're going, oh, your profile's like really up there now. And I'm thinking, is it? You know, I mean, like these people must be scouring the internet for forum chat and all that sort of stuff, and you know, which I just don't really do. You know, I'm not fused to the internet like 24/7. I don't really go on, and I don't look at myself on YouTube. I don't see how many hits I've had really, or you know, even bother reading the comments.
But people don't get the fact that that nowadays that like because you are up there in popularity, dude. But today in this day and age, it doesn't translate to this. You know what I mean? And it doesn't translate to being successful in the business. What it translates to is media-generated popularity. You know, people can still do what I'm doing right now. Watch a video on the screen and record it with software directly off the screen. That's the problem with it, dude. It doesn't translate anymore, and it's a shame, you know, because at the end of the day, you know, yes, you do what you do out of the love for what you do, obviously, you know, but you know, when you work that hard at something, I mean, we have to eat. You have to put clothes on our back. You know, we have to buy toilet paper to wipe our ass. Like, it's nice to think that when you get to a point where you're at, where you've got the 5,000 friends and you've got the million views on YouTube and all this stuff should be translating essentially to enough money.
It kind of does. I mean, you know, like companies, they do like know who you are. That's the kind of cool thing about it. You know, like EMG, they you know, they kind of found out about us like eventually through something else, and now, you know, I'm going to be filming for them when I'm over in America in a couple of weeks, and you know, so that's cool. And Chris is like, you know, really, he seems to like what I do, you know, as a player and stuff, and you know, which is cool. You know, getting industry people on your side thinking that you're good as well. You know, it's not just people, but if you get the industry people thinking, oh, you know, this is great, but. See, the trouble is like it's not just about being a great guitar player, you know, especially when you start working with companies and stuff, you know, because if you're a complete cunt, then no one's going to want to work with you. You know, I've always kind of been fairly aware of that. Maybe not early on. I mean, things with me and Ernie Ball didn't end very well, and that's because I got pissed and said something. To this day, I don't even know what I said, but they just didn't want anything to do with me anymore, and I don't know. I put that down to generation gap. I think they're all a bit old, and I just don't think they really understood me as a person, you know, because I just say and do things for a laugh. And when you're surrounded by people that are easily offended, you know, I don't know why anybody's easily offended. I've had this, like, you know, why do people get offended? You know, like, unless you're personally kind of dissing them as people, you know, why can't you say, oh, I don't like this, or I think that's wrong, or, you know, and for someone else to go, well, okay, that's what you believe. I mean, I don't agree with you, and leave it at that. Why people have full-blown arguments because you don't see something the way somebody else does, or you know, I to be honest, I've never really been like that. I don't think. You could say whatever you wanted to me, and I'd just kind of laugh it off, or you know, it'd be funny.
You were working on what, a string endorsement with Ernie Ball or a guitar?
No, I was playing guitars with him and stuff. I was demoing for him like I'm doing ESP, but.
Oh yeah.
As I say, you know, I mean, the guys were great, you know, but I just for some reason. I don't know, like for the last time I played with them, it seemed like there was a little bit of a click going on, and for some reason or another I just didn't really fit in. I don't know why.